cash ain't right, if your cash ain't right, put some cash in your life, put some cash in your life. Cause what's the credit score when you got your cash right? Put some cash in your life, put some cash in your life. If your cash ain't right, if your cash ain't right, put some cash in your life.
Welcome everybody to a unboxing of Sideshow Collectibles Thanos on Throne. I am your host, just a regular collector, man, KashDaGemini, joined by Buck Fangs, Tone, CMP, and JP Mavinga. What's going on, everybody?
What's going on?
Hello.
Is JP even a collector? He doesn't have any statues behind him. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Man, I'm a fraud. I'll admit it.
Oh man, dude.
I have a few, but I got them just from having worked on them. So I have a couple Aspens, a Lino pre-production, Spider-Gwen.
Wow.
Macquarie Stormtrooper.
That's a dope one.
Yeah.
It's not enough. It's not enough. No,
Yeah, I mean,
okay,
you know,
okay.
when you work here around it, so you know, I didn't think to buy. I got these just through, you know, the office or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I have books. I have so many books. I had like, I think it was like almost 1,500 pounds worth of books. And I was like,
Wow.
bringing it out of the truck. Yeah, man. I had a back in. I had like a back. I don't know, call it for like 3 weeks after.
I think books can be worse than collecting statues.
Jeez.
I used to collect a bunch of like novels, like fantasy novels, and I had a bunch. Every time I had to move, it was a pain in the butt. So I just started doing digital, like audiobooks and ebooks. That's how I like take most of my novels right now.
Yeah. So JP, do you happen to have this one? I know this is Buck's favorite one right here. Do you happen to have this one in the collection?
You know what? I don't. I really wish I did. That is one of my up there projects.
Yeah.
I just felt it's beautiful. The artist that sculpted the Fathom, you know. And you know, I didn't. I was on the team. I wasn't the main designer, but when it came to me, it was for all the details. So I designed the gun, the base, and a lot of the costume and the armor.
Yeah.
Do you usually do like hard surface stuff like that? That's like your main.
You know, I guess like I came in. I mean, I try to be a team guy. You know what I'm saying? I can draw figures, I can draw creatures, I can draw tech, I can draw in perspective, whatever. But I try to look at the team that we had because I was the senior designer and you know, other designer, you know, art director above me. And I decided to kind of fill the gaps where the skills weren't maybe there with everybody else. So it fell on hard surface type stuff. So, you know, the sculptors, I mean, they can make up their thing or whatever they're into, but oftentimes, even if they're really skilled, they didn't always have a precise drawing, you know. So I could give them something in space, in perspective, that looks like, you know, in the round, and so they could kind of like see a few views, and so that was my way of kind of being an asset to projects. And sometimes I would work after or support junior designers where their strengths weren't, you know, fully covering it. So oftentimes it was like hard surface.
That's really cool because I think that's what I find difficult. Like I feel like the organic stuff comes more naturally than trying to put like the mechanical things in the right amount of detailing. It always it's hard for my brain to decipher that, like just knowing what to put where and give it that semblance of feeling like there's enough complexity to the shapes there and the forms that are on display.
Yeah, you know, it's just another anatomy, you know. If you think about it, like if some really weird aliens came here from another universe, you'd be like, man, they just look so weird, because it's our eyes aren't used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hard surface stuff is like that. I mean, if you look at a lot of product design and car design and all that kind of stuff, eventually you start to build a library in your mind of how, the path that industrialization has taken.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of, based on your own taste and interest, you can put something down that looks like today, and then you learn how to go backwards because you know what
Mm-hmm.
used to be made, and then you can also go forward to what probably will be made, right? Iron Man was interesting because if you look at in the movie, right, the one he built in the cave, everybody recognizes that, right? Like pounded metal, little, like it's if a kid made something out of cardboard and put it on, like we can see the connection, right? By the time you got to like the Mark II, and we're like, okay, we're looking at all the parts, like we've seen stuff like that, maybe not that small, but the hinges and joints all look like machines we know. The plate surfaces, cars, motorcycle, you kind of know what that is, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so when you see all the gears turn, you're like, oh, okay, maybe a car transmission or some type of like, you ever seen like a drill, like a power tool, and you put the thing in and it tightens? It's that stuff, right? Your mind knows what it is. And so you can say, okay, that's like today plus 10 years of whatever, right? And then by the time you get to the armor where it's like nano,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we can't do that, right? So it looks like water or something alive. All the shapes were curved and fluid. Like you can't cast that. You can't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's how you show evolution.
So
Right?
what was that? What was the motivation behind all the design language in Thanos? Because like there's a lot of curved elements, there's paneling, there's segmentation. So I can see like on the front, right, of his armor, he's got those like the ribbed metal panel like line going down the midsection
Yeah.
underneath the top, like what do you call that, the shoulder piece.
Yeah, it's got the little.
Yeah, and so that design language is repeating throughout his midsection. So you have the curve going down up top, the chest, and then it goes down to
So
the like skirt or whatever.
originally, if you, because it started with the throne.
Mm-hmm.
I should have prepared that drawing and show you guys the initial one. Maybe I'll grab it. The throne had that skeletal feeling to it,
Yeah.
right? And so in the character design originally, he had belts. All those features were actually buckles to belts that came all the way around.
Oh,
And so
strapping him to the throne.
no, it was literally like on his clothing, like he has a big
Yeah.
belt,
Yeah.
and there were other just belts going up like his body. Think
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like Michael Jackson or those pirate costumes where they
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
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 It was like that, almost like our like ribs on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
But given that it was a superhero and the tradition of the comics and the muscle, it kind of was like it's too much and you're not showing the muscles, so it started to look like just armor on a skinnier guy. So those were removed, but the buckles were kept.
Mm.
Um,
Ooh.
the curves, like when the original Thanos drawings, comics are drawn quickly, right,
Yeah.
at speed. And so if you look at a comic book, even in the small panels, or you hold the thing from far away, you can read all the shapes, So he almost had like this yellow thing, like, and it was curved. A curved line is more organic. In some ways, it's faster to draw.
Mm-hmm.
So that shape, almost like a semicircle, is part of his design from a flat perspective, right? But in a comic book, because you're moving quickly, it's relatively featureless, right? But to me, that was like the first major element of his design was curves to points,
Yeah.
right? You see it in this thing, and you got the circle oftentimes on his ear or whatever. So that was kind of where I began, and then the complexity to me, because again, the throne was designed first, and then he was designed to match it.
Mm.
So the details, but the rhythm is the most important part. If you look at his, his I guess the front of his shirt where it falls down, not quite a skirt, but you'll see rhythms and repetition. You know, just like bones, just like ribs, just like spines. And so it's that thing where technology, so far as we've progressed, seems to be away from nature. But as we get better and better, we approach nature. And so you start to see that chair being a complicated machine, it's skeletal. And in its changing rhythms, it's organic. And that was the main idea there, just to kind of.
And that's something I really like about the cheer design. It's quite compact, right? But it is still like it's a very curvy and ergonomic looking chair. If I was to say that, it's not just like a blocky square shape. There's a lot of curves in there, and normally that's not. I guess in I don't depending on the kind of sci-fi. I wouldn't have associated this kind of design language with Thanos necessarily, like from the jump, right? So I really thought this was just one of the most unique hard surface designs I've seen within statues, right? Like it's just definitely all that segmented, the segments and the paneling and all the layered like panels on top of the underlying. I don't know, what would you call these patterns, these metallic patterns underneath the surface, like what's you terming that?
Well,
almost like greebles on a Star Wars
now
ship or something.
people call it that, scribblies, Aztecing, noodling, whatever. Everybody stole it from Sid Mead and Ralph McQuarrie, just keeping it real. It's like, to me, it's very similar to somebody being so muscular their veins stick out.
Oh yeah, that's good.
It's like so high tech. It's just like cracked open and you see the, there's some amazing. I took inspiration from a lot of places. The most amazing motorcycles, the fast one, the MotoGP bikes.
Yeah.
And I had the same thought process when I expanded on the design for Voltron and kind of art directed that. I was thinking fast bikes. So on a bike, you get those curves towards the front fascia of the bike. And then to reduce weight, you have just enough panels to cover enough to move the air, and the rest of the hardware is exposed. And in this case, that was the same kind of mentality. But I wasn't on this project. I've said this before originally. I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't the Hulk guy. I wasn't the Thanos guy. I wasn't I was doing Star Wars and other stuff, right? And I walked into my boss's office, Dave Igo, and we were trying to figure out what I was going to work on next. And I saw it on the wall, and I was like, what's going on with this Thanos thing? It looks pretty cool. And they had one of those blocky chairs, like it was like this high, and they were like, yeah, man, at quarter scale, it's too big. You couldn't ship that.
It's a big box.
Well, and he started telling me about it, and I was like, the only reason this isn't being made is because the chair would be too big. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I'm not trying to do Thanos, but do you just need a chair? Is that the problem here? I'll take a chair for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's like, really? I was like, yeah. He's like, look, you can have presence through size, but there's other ways to have presence, It's rhythm and flow. And so he was like, all right, go work on that. And so I did some sketches and came back, and then we picked some. There was a range of looks. One looked like practically Bones and Giger, right?
I was gonna say that. Like,
and another one looked like Iron Man, like real hard angles, almost like the Starship Enterprise. And they were like somewhere in between. So those themes for the hands, whatever they're called, Those are basically
That's like
like
the
Star Trek nacelles.
Enterprise, like yeah,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
that's the feature. In fact, if you're a Star Trek nerd, you'll know that the Starfleet nacelles all have warp coils in there. You know, the part that turns blue and then they go.
Mm-hmm.
And if the nacelles were ever opened, they would look like ribs in the ship there. So a little nod to Star Trek.
Nice. Real quick, guys. I just want to say what's up to everybody in the chat before we get started with the unboxing. Zero, what's going on? Appreciate you being here. Jaden, what's up? Random Korean, what's going on? My guy Slim Boss in the chat. Appreciate you coming through, man. Your Vision, what's going on? Guy Gabriel Gutierrez in the house. Jojo Valdez, what's up, man? What's up? What's going on? See who else we got. Nice guy. How you doing, man? How you doing? Jesse Hernandez, Norman Rich. Got D3 in the building. My guy Venom Tech. Let's see who else here. Appreciate everybody for coming through. Terry from Gotham Cenobites, what's going on? And,
Grab some drawings real quick.
Yeah, sure. Bats in the Belfry. Appreciate everybody for coming through. 37 of you guys. As they say, man, remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, or don't, and all that. I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna share something in a second here. Yeah, no doubt, Zero. It was at, let's see here, 1 second. It was at this moment right here. One moment.
That he knew he effed up.
Dude, so it was at this moment here, because right behind it was the Venom, but right next to the Venom was the Thanos, and Martine's just talking about how big the Venom is, how big the Thanos is, and I kept looking at it, and I'm just like, damn. And then I kept going back, and Martine's like, "You gonna buy it?" so I was just like, man, I think so. So shout out Martine. He was a great guy to meet. And then, like I said, my guy Venom Tech. But after all these Sideshow statues right here, it was literally that Thanos on throne, the Venom, and the Dark Knight that stood out more than any of them. And also the Sideshow Collectibles Hawk from Daniel Bell. Those ones stood out the most from me. So just want to definitely say it was due to StatueCon, man. Yeah, it was due to StatueCon.
Was that your first time seeing it in person?
That was my first time seeing it in person. I've seen Casual. I know he has it. A couple other collectors have it, I know. But I always was like, I'm cool. But when I saw it in person, you know, like I said, it was next to the Venom, and so I'm looking at the Venom, I'm looking at the Thanos, and Martine's like, "You gonna buy it?" And so I was just like, "I think I'm gonna buy it." And you know, that was one of the coolest moments. And again, Martine was one of the coolest guys, one of the coolest people there, man. Martine, Venom Tech, Ro. Got to meet a lot of cool people, man. So yeah, it was definitely cool, man. But I had to have the piece. I know you have something to share. What do you have there, JP?
I was just finding the drawing. I'm gonna send it to you here.
Cool.
I guess on Facebook. Sure. Yeah, I was gonna grab the physical drawing, and I was like, I don't know where that is.
Yeah. I'll get to the unboxing parts here shortly, guys. I'm kind of nervous to unbox this.
You took the art box out of the shipper. I wanted to see the struggle, man. Come on,
dude. No.
Man, come on.
I had to drag it. Well, yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna say it loud.
Yeah. The box is insane, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
I didn't eat my Wheaties today, man. Wow.
Oh, shut up.
I was looking for this too.
Yo, so that's what I'm saying. So this even has that like Geiger look to it, even right now.
Yeah, in fact, it was a little bit. They were actually on the side of the chair, like right there. Those little kind of bulges.
Yeah,
they were skulls, and Marvel was like, nah, it's too
It's
too
too
giga. So they were like, okay, tone that down. So we,
Oh man.
This looks good. I like the round
uh,
base too. Like that's changed, I guess.
mhm.
And like the back of the base as well. Like the chair portion, the back portion of it looks like it's been.
Yeah, I mean, designs are aspirational. I mean, this sketch was like done with like a brush pen, you know what I'm saying? And then later on, I made a photocopy and then did marker over it. That's like the gray.
Mm,
But yeah, it was just like a quick brush pen drawing, no real perspective, um, just to get the right kind of flow and shapes.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then just to be able to ship the thing, like the depth of the chair was changed. It was Justice Joseph, by the way. Shout out to him for sculpting this. But the the depth was adjusted so so it wasn't too deep because the piece would have been, but the way he's sitting in its pose, it looks like it's a deep chair, but actually if you look at it, I mean there's not that much chair to it. So that's different from this concept. But yeah, it was the circle base is one of those things where if you make it a square, you're suggesting front, side, back, right? You're psychologically implying that. But if it's a circle or something not specific, then you could make the front, but you could set it up to where the 3/4 is the ideal view, or the profile is the ideal view, or the back. I wanted a piece where the back was just as interesting as the front. And if you own this thing, my goal is that in 6 months you look at it and you see something you never noticed before.
Yeah.
And in a year you look at it and be like, I never noticed it. And if it works as well as I wanted to, in 5 years you look at it and be like, I never noticed that before. And so you get this constant experience of novelty from it. That's kind of my hope, and
I wonder
it's
if
aspirational.
there's even a skull in the greebles there in the front. I just saw that. I wonder if that's in the final sculpt. If they implemented that, you see it on
on the very bottom.
Yep.
Cash will let us know in a second.
Wait, what?
He's looking at the base. Like there's a skull right in the middle.
on the platform for the feet.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
sorry,
think that
sorry.
was. Oh yeah, I don't think that was put in.
Spoilers.
Yeah, this
Damn
thing.
it.
I mean, the whole backrest was skulls. That's like that. Yeah, Marvel was just like.
and it's like a
Yeah.
spine. Whose
I wish I
idea was
could've-
it to crush the skull on the one hand? on the
That's my
one-
favorite.
That was
Whoa.
Will Hardbottle. So Will Hardbottle sculpted Thanos himself,
Yeah,
and then put the piece together. And he did some texture stuff on the
Mhm.
base and shit. Yeah, Will. That was Will's idea. He was obviously the main sculptor of the figure, and I had worked with him on Voltron, which was Voltron was probably one of my favorite collaborations. And so when this design came around, not a lot of guys could pull that off, and we knew he could pull it off because he did great figures and superheroes, but we knew he could pull off the tech like nobody else that was there. So it's like, okay, it made sense. And at the time there was another. Not going to name any names, but there was another person on the team that was kind of like angling to do Thanos, and so there was a little bit of a, well, who's going to do Thanos, whatever. But then when that person saw this, he was like, oh, okay,
I'll fall back.
when it comes back around, I'll do it. And
Oh
so,
man,
yeah, so because you don't do a bunch of Thanos every year.
yeah.
Oh no, this is the one, man. This is the one. This is the one. You know what's crazy? What kind of always stuck to me as well is I always tell this like story about you since you were on the Cash and Out show back then. Every
Yeah.
time I look at my refrigerator, it's just always different. Since you told me about the Mr. Freeze, the Sideshow Mr. Freeze, so I just never look at my fridge the same. Like I was grabbing like some orange juice in like the bottom grill part of the fridge. I'm like, damn it, JP, did you really do that?
Yeah, I mean, we this is something I learned in art school. I mean, it was already there, but like a professor really crystallized it for me, and it's available to all of us, not just an art thing. But um, we live with so much beauty around us in random things, and sometimes the failure is we have so much stimulus and entertainment and stuff like that, and we're so busy. If we get to pause and just look, right?
Yeah.
And one of the most amazing things that we deal with every day is cars. We admire cars like Ferraris, incredible machines of technology, right? And it took 100 some years to get to that level of technology, right? And if you ever get to see the guts of a Ferrari or any supercar, hypercar, I mean, it's amazing, right? But we don't look at the Honda Civic that way.
Next year.
But I'm going to tell you this: there is more engineering development in a Honda Civic than in any Ferrari.
Wow.
Because Toyota has to get that same degree of complexity to you at $25,000. So what you don't see in the Honda Civic is the $5 billion factory line with even more machines and more things. So when you open the hood of a car, you have to look at the undercar and look at the mechanic or whatever. Every one of those parts is optimized for its function. It all works together, right? And so you look at your fridge, you look at a drill, you look at anything. You ever open up electronics? It's like, and to me that's exciting. You always get ideas from that, and all of it is trying to imitate nature. It's not even close to nature. So if you ever look at my anatomy, all the way the tissues work, if you really study it, you get down to cellular biology, how cells work, all the interactions of membranes and proteins and the nucleus and mitochondria and the transition between DNA and RNA, the messaging, like it's amazing. So, somebody asked me to design a statue, like, yeah, you're just gonna draw on a piece of paper. All right, fine, I get you. But like there is so much to draw from. Never lose inspiration. So, Mr. Freeze, hey, where else are you gonna start? I got a freezing device right here.
I had to get it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had to get it, man. I had to get it. Well, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and start unboxing this. You guys definitely keep talking. Buck, just look at the comments and yeah, man. Jesus.
Can I give you one piece of advice?
Don't drop it.
Exactly.
That's what gets all the views, though, JP. That's what gets all the views.
I know, right? Explode the whole channel, like the internet.
Oh man.
It's a awkward box because compared to other statues or other statue boxes, it's like wider, deeper, taller, and everything. But it's awesome because it's very compact. The throne is there, he's there, and all the swap outs are there. So
can you show all the faces of the box, by the way?
Oh yeah.
I just want to say this. I'm sorry.
No.
Sideshow's graphic design department, they spend time on this. They think it through, right? There's a team of people. Yeah, they sit down and I got to talk to them and hang out with them. They're great people. And I know they don't get shouted out in the statue or whatever, but like these are amazing individuals. A lot of them were friends to me. I don't remember all the names, but Jen, there was Andrew, there was Margot. Amazing people.
You are saying that you think art boxes are a part of the experience.
Oh, they're purposely crafted by the Sideshow graphic design team to be, yeah, absolutely.
For sure, for sure.
We're going through a
box is Silver Surfer.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, we're going through like a whole thing right now. Like they're trying to get rid of art boxes in one company, where like everyone's like, do we like them? Do we need it? And there you go, like proof that like there's like work that's been done to get those art boxes. You
know what, man? Like I would say imitate the best. You go buy an Apple product, those simple boxes and you shake it and it slides down perfectly and everything comes like it's part of the experience, man. Every time I buy an Apple product,
I was just gonna
it's
say that about
so
the
amazing.
Sideshow boxes.
Mhm.
It's like you see it and it's like so well designed. It's like it makes it exciting. You're like, oh man, that's in there.
I think also you gotta. It's like everything should be in service of the actual, like the example with the Apple like boxes. You know, they're designed in a way to service the experience of unboxing. So that's why you just, like you said, you just shake it and you pull off the top. So I can see, like, you know, even that, as long as that's the goal, furthering like making that a better experience for the consumer, you know, I appreciate the effort that goes in.
Mhm.
Michael's holding a toddler right now.
Yeah.
This
How
is
heavy
crazy,
is that?
man. It's not heavy, but it's heavy like I don't want to drop it. That's if you know what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
I just want to drop it.
That thing is so massive that
Holy
China had to hollow out the legs, I think, or some
Uh,
parts of it are hollow inside.
Mhm. One of our guys, Jarhead, actually shipped Thanos on Throne, and the leg broke off, and it was hollow. Yeah, like it was interesting to see that.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to take mass off. I mean, look, mini statues that have some kind of upright feature, you don't want too much of load on a particular area. So sometimes I'll hollow it out just to reduce the mass so it can retain its form.
That's what I'm pretty sure the Bane, the Sideshow Bane's like that. It sounds hollow up in his chest area because it's so big up there.
Yeah.
Plus, it's also
Here we go.
damn, that's the
Oh
cheer.
man, dude, this is insane.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's big.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, wouldn't you love to have a chair like that in your house?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I'd be afraid it would take over my mind. It looks like it's next to you.
Oh man.
That chair
If I
looks
ever
even.
do well, I'm gonna commission one made in bronze. Just to sit
Oh,
on.
my.
He said, "Do well." Imagine if he did better. You know, what kind of chair? Look at that. That's crazy.
Holy smokes.
It doesn't ever look that big on people's shelves. Like even yours, casual. Like
Yeah.
seeing it, like holy crap.
It's interesting, right? Like it definitely gets you like it's kind of weird. Like seeing the chair just like this by itself, it's like a statue by itself. To be
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Look,
think this is
the-
the first time I'm seeing an unboxing of this statue.
I was of the philosophy, and not everyone agreed, that the setting that our characters inhabit are characters. Metropolis is a character distinct from Gotham. You know, the Starship Enterprise is a character distinct from Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And so the chair is, to me, as much a part of the story as anything else. Now, in a comic, you may not do that because time and so on and so forth. But for a piece like this, I mean, it's such an opportunity. You know, this is a character that, I mean, he's in love with death. Okay, this throne, I mean, if it says one thing, I mean, it says death. You know, it says death and it says cosmic. You know, and so I appreciated that we took the time to do that. And again, I always say this because sometimes people forget, but it's the work of two sculptors, not one.
Heck yeah, man.
The person that did the cheer and the person that did Thanos.
Oh yeah. Dude, you guys did an amazing job. Like an amazing job.
It's alright. It's alright.
Oh man. Crazy, dude.
I wanted to ask the
the
question,
details.
like, how did you guys like go with the colors? It's purple, blue, a little bit of black, a little bit of like.
That was a little bit left to the painter. I think this one was Casey, I believe. Yeah, I mean, The one thing I'll say that's smart about it from a color theory perspective is all right, this is getting the lights on.
Oh yeah, man.
That's sick.
It's bright too. Yeah.
So for the art nerds, there's a color scheme called split complementary. And so basically you go your main color on one side of the color wheel, you go straight and the colors next to it, right? So you have one color and the complements form what's called an analogous arc. In this piece, you have yellow, which complements purple, and then next to purple, you have turquoise and greens and whatever, right? So if you make a little arc, so all those colors often will work well together. And so that's why I felt in the color scheme, you have that little color range. You have the yellows and golds, and then you have the purples and the blues and a little bit of the turquoise. And it's all kind of a nice relationship there.
I had to make like a whole presentation in the class, and I had to use my own artwork to make the presentation. So I have this folding, like, what do you call it? Like a brochure kind of thing, talking about all the different like types of contrast and color schemes.
Hey, real quick, casual. Does the body go first?
No, the arms go first. The sides of it. So then, like when you sit him down, his right arm sets into the crushed head.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yep,
I
yep.
think like the freakiest kind of color theory thing I've seen is like simultaneous contrast.
And some of this is painted a little bit for lighting, like it's actually lit a little bit with the paint.
So the shadows are baked in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like it's interesting when you look at the statues because they make, I think I mentioned this before, they'll make usually about two copies in house. So actually more than that, but there's a mold, like two resin, right? And I think they call them resin masters. So one stays, one goes to China and to duplicate, and then it comes back just resin, and to make sure that China did it right and broke everything up correctly so it all fits. And then you do two more in-house, two paint masters. One goes to China, one stays. So they have to match. And then China makes one and sends it back, and then it gets critiqued. And so the factory will actually adjust their processes to the notes that they've been given. And once the quality level is like, 85% or so, because they've dialed it in on how to make one, they'll run it. They've got all their masks and so the factory will be like people who are, they're factory workers, but they're craftsmen,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll learn like, this glow is like this much pressure on the airbrush, next one, for the entire thing. And you get this effect, which is, if you saw that next to the paint master that the artist actually did, if you walk by, you don't see a difference. If you sit there and inspect it, you'll be like, okay, yeah, this is less detail, a little rougher, but for product, it's quite good.
Yeah. Imagine doing that like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It's a craft.
Yeah.
So,
Those people
And
are insane. They're like really
I'm not
good.
gonna say 1,000 of what the number is, but it's more than 1,000.
1,001. It's okay. I know.
This one did very, very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when they debuted this, they, because they kept pausing the project, they didn't sure if it would do well, and they were like, we're hoping to break even, like, and it almost got stopped a couple times. We had to go advocate for it as like a statement piece, even if the company loses money, it's a statement piece.
Yeah.
And the day it launched, the website crashed.
Yeah.
And it sold out. The exclusive sold out really quick too.
Yeah, it's like minutes. It was crazy. I remember that there was like energy in the building, like, what's going on? Like customer service is freaking out, they're taking calls, the website's down, like everything's Yeah, it shattered some records, man. It blew away Batman, Superman, all that stuff combined. Just the one
Yeah.
piece. Just all.
You feel he's wearing Crocs. He's wearing Crocs.
Oh man.
What do you think, Michael?
This is amazing. This is amazing. It's I'm really glad I bought it.
Yeah.
Really, really glad. It's worth every penny. It's worth the wait. The paint on it is next level. Gotta give love to the painters. The details on the chair. Thanos himself. Ah man, this is crazy. Never noticed this before in any of the pictures. So you're
Yeah,
not lying.
there was some design work that had proposed for that space where that kind of writing is.
Yeah.
But it was like this very kind of ornate filigree. So kind of like in the chair, you have like these gaps, and then you have like the hard surface tech in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be similar, but like very flowy, almost like calligraphy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we didn't have that much time left, and it was probably daunting to sculpt for the sculptor. And so that writing actually, I think, came from something Court of the Dead.
Oh wow!
Oh,
So you just took the glyphs from there and put them in there. That's sick. I'm also noticing, like with the eyebrows, it's almost like he got a sun rising in the middle of his like forehead, and then like
Yeah.
with the eyebrows, there's like this in there. There's like some ribbing. I don't know if it's showing because it's like a bit dark, but nah, I can't see it. It's not showing right now. Or maybe it's not this portrait. There's the other one, right? There's more than one.
Yeah, there's two.
yeah, the regular is like without him smiling.
Yeah, I think I saw it on that one. Yeah, this is it. You see that on the swoop, like around there, you got that ribbed effect, like almost like bat ears.
And I think this one was designed by that feature, if I recall correctly, by Zach Rohn. So Zach was a designer hired a little bit after me. He's a great artist. He's got a book called I think Tales of the Black Devil. He's got it on his website. Anyway, he's worked in animation, like great artist. And he's also a musician. He has a band called Mason Gold. I just gotta shout them out. They're amazing. Go listen to them. You'll be amazed. But yeah, he came on board the project a little bit late, and then I think he worked on the boots and maybe the crown feature and some other stuff. But yeah, a bunch of us really jumped on it. I mean, there was a lot of design work done before I got there. And so I did the throne and then redid everything to kind of match. And then towards the end, even while it was being sculpted, it kept being designed. And so there was a point where I was doing other work, and so Zach came in and finished some details and stuff like that. So I think
It seems like there are a lot of people that worked on this, and somehow you guys managed to keep things cohesive
Yeah.
and like maintain
Yeah.
like a solid like feel. Everything feels like it's meant to be there. It's well thought out. It's a triumph, I would say, in terms of the
Yeah.
design that goes into this.
Look, this project went remarkably well. Not that projects go bad, but like everybody I felt gave their best and worked at a level of professionalism. And you hear it. There's a video about it. Everybody talks about it, and anybody you talk to that worked on this will say that. If there were any issues, it was like early on because we didn't know what to do until the throne was like, okay, boom, go. And then afterwards, once it was done, like really kind of reconciling with what happened. Like, a lot of people, most of the main ones, we know the roles. A lot of people didn't know other people's roles on it.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, it's kind of like a little mini movie. Like just a lot of things were done that that just, I felt were at a high level, and the things that were done, they're demonstrations of what's possible.
Yeah.
I wish every project was like this.
Mm-hmm. I would ask, beyond like, flattening out the front and like compressing the throne even further, like making it even a bit smaller and compact, what other kind of compromises do you guys have to make in terms of design to, before it got here?
So some compromises are practical, right? Like you got to ship it, you got to be able to make it, it's got to weigh a certain amount, the factory able to execute it, and things like that. It's got to be something that can be manufactured. And then other compromises are, let's say, more philosophical. So the circular base, for me, told a very specific story, and it was, this piece can go any direction, just like a ship can go any direction. And there is an obvious symmetrical front to the thing, like,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not how you have to display it. When it's flattened like that, it definitely says this is the front facade, right?
Yeah.
If you've got it on the desk, if your desk is like this and then the piece is like that, it's awkward. You want to, I wouldn't have done that, but I understand why it was done, probably for reasons of depth. If it was a true circle, that depth, then the footprint would be smaller.
Mm-hmm.
For a piece that wide, now you're talking about a stability problem, right?
Yeah.
If you made that as is a full circle, now you have a deeper footprint that may or may not ship well, may not fit on the shelf, we stick off your shelf and stuff like that. So, what do you want to sell? Now, personally, I think that they shrank the footprint in response to Voltron, which had a big pizza footprint, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
That thing was like, because it was supposed to be the surface of the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so all the kind of like frustrations, if you want to say it, over Voltron's footprint probably were expressed in the reduced footprint of this one.
So you think it was a reaction to customer feedback that led to this, or?
I don't think it was necessarily customer feedback. I just think like maybe, but I think there's a lot of self-evaluation that happens where people, like sometime after this, it was like, stop making elaborate bases. Like, people want the figure, not the base. And I didn't agree with that necessarily, because I feel like if everybody's figures are good and our bases are the best, then you have an edge,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you look at XM would have a lot of big complicated bases, but not a lot of thought.
Yeah.
Right? Prime 1 would have a lot of, stuff also, but you see like architectural stuff like, oh, yeah, that's some brick. Okay, good work. You know what I'm saying? And so when you look at the bases certainly that I worked on, you turn them around, you're gonna start seeing stuff, especially the machines and stuff like this looks like it's from a particular world and a particular story. But it takes time to do. This piece is 2 figures in one. I would say it's a bargain. You know what I mean? And 2 guys worked on it almost simultaneously, but the throne a little bit before the figure. But I art directed both of them. I have all the files. Right? I would get sent the figure. I would do some photoshopping, and then I would get sent the base. And I would do photoshopping, and it's not stuff for this type of medium. But I could show you at some point, like, okay, this is the first sculpt I got. These are the notes that I made to try to get like those shapes in the back. When I first got them, they were rough, and I was trying to get the guy to get the flow right. So we went through it for, I don't know, 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So whether or not you do a base that's super interesting is philosophical. Some people think a black disc is the best way because it shows off the figure. Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just to share this real quick, I think this is probably one of my favorite drawings inside of the Mavinga book here. I think
Trap jaw.
Yeah, this one here is amazing. I really like the details that are shown in here.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful piece of art.
Send me your address when this is done. I'll send you the print of it, a little bit bigger.
Ah,
11 by
Oh.
17.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
nice.
you talking to me, right?
I'll send
Oh,
you
man.
one. I'll send you one too, because you came to Comic-Con.
Oh man, dude.
Yeah. That okay, so funny story. That trap jaw, right?
Yeah.
So there's a guy named Tim Hansen that does all the cut and sew at Sideshow,
Mhm.
right? And he, he's my buddy. He was always like, ever since I got there. By the way, Thanos I worked on that, I believe, 9 years ago. Just for context. So I was at Sideshow back in the day, and Tim's like, "Hey man, you should make an art book." And I was like, "Yeah." Every year he kept saying that, and then towards the end there, he was like, "You should make an art book." I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Don't worry." And so I had these jeans that I bought, on sale or whatever. But it was like had like the patches, where it's kind of ripped and they say something underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it looked worn, but it was brand new. But like the fabric that they put in there was stupid, man. And I was like, "Yo, Tim, can you fix this? Like, just put like a solid, it can be a little hole with something underneath, but I don't want like it's like a little sailboat pattern." I was like, "It's stupid, man." So I traded him. I said, "I will draw your favorite character if you do this." So, he's got skills, right? So he did it, and then I think he was expecting like a regular, he said, trap draw or whatever. I think he was expecting, regular little sketch or whatever. And because I knew, the Sideshow thing was wrapping up.
Yeah.
And so, Tim's one of the people that's been really cool, really supportive. I used to go in his office and give him a hard time all the time. But when we worked together, we really did good work. And so I really took my time on the drawing, and he kept asking me. I was like, "Put an extra sauce on it, man. Don't worry." And I did like a really quick, like 30-second sketch of trap draw on a little piece of paper, and then I had that one obviously. So I came to his office, like, "All right, here's the sketch," and he's like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah, like this is." And he kind of like took a deep breath and was like, "All right. I mean, if you're saying that this is your, but he was, because he couldn't say anything because he didn't really
It was a bit
specify
disappointing.
how, yeah. And I played that for about 5 minutes, and then I gave him the real one. I was like, "Yeah, it's fine." And so yeah, he has the original of that one.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Some
Cool,
deep
cool.
lore.
Some
Heck
great
yeah,
people
man.
at the Sideshow. I wish there would have been a fabric element on that he could have worked on, but hey. He
Yeah.
did the cape for She-Ra. We worked a lot on that one.
Cool.
That was
Cool.
another good one. Have you had any hand in the Tweeterhead Master of the Universe line?
Mm-hmm.
That way you answer that means it's not yet been released.
I think everything I touched has been out. So the one that probably has the most of my signature, actually, there's one. I don't know if it'll ever come out. So we'll put that one to the side. So yeah.
Damn.
But Hordak is the one that I did the most on.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of people worked on it and went through a lot of different phases, and it went away and came back for like 2-3 years. And then
The one that launched it. That's the one that like made people go, "Wow, Tweeterhead's trying to be serious right now."
Yeah.
oh yeah. Yeah. So a
Wow.
lot of those details, I mean, I have those drawings I could send you. But similar philosophy to Thanos,
Yeah.
organic curves, rhythms. But yeah, there were the main shapes were hard to solve. A lot of people worked on it, like I said, Alex Pasenko and just I don't know who else as far as design. And then David Igo sculpted a rough of the main shapes of that armor,
Mm-hmm.
and then gave it to me. And so what I did was I just took his sculpt, faded it front and back,
Did a draw over.
printed it out, and just drew with a ballpoint pen in my kind of rendering style all that detail.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the basis for it. And then I designed the whole base and the scepter or spear or whatever that.
Do you prefer to, because like it seems like one of your workflows seems to be printing out a pass and then like drawing over with traditional media. Do you
Yes.
prefer to work with traditional media over like Photoshop?
Yeah, and here's the thing. Digital the digital medium is trying to do something that reality already has. Okay.
I agree.
If you make your file 20,000 by 10,000 pixels, that's a very high resolution file, right? But your piece of paper, its resolution goes to atoms. And then, atoms have, a nucleus, and even the particles in the nucleus have, inner particles, quarks, with the spin, and we're still trying to get down to the quantum physics of that. So all your information in your file, no matter how high res, you can go 100,000 by 100,000 pixels, it's still low res compared to nature. Now, you can't control a pen or a paintbrush as precisely as you can on, Photoshop, but the problem with Photoshop is if you zoom in on a millimeter, then you can't see the rest of your art because your screen's not big enough. But on paper, you always see it. Even if you go like this, you can still see the other part of the drawing to consider, right? And the other thing is, I don't like drawing on glass. I was trained on paper, and so all my reflexes, my biology accounts for the friction of paper, not the friction or lack of friction of glass. So I've got a lifetime of drawing in response to friction, and now you're giving me glass. So they have things you can put on your Cintiq to give it some roughness, but then you're trying to emulate the error of nature with something manufactured. It's like, well, now the roughness is too even, or it wears out, or all this stuff. And then you can put your Cintiq on a little gimbal thing, but like, I'm sorry, a piece of paper just flips around with a flick of a hand, right? So something like an iPad, it's getting better. It's lighter. You can flip it around, but an iPad has a limited size, and then there's there's almost no parallax on an iPad, but it's still there. So I just feel like I have a little bit more freedom with paper. Also, I can flick water on it if I want to. I mean, on the screen, you have all the fake brushes and stuff, but like you can't actually.
I'll say one thing for sure is like, I feel like some of the best digital illustrations are trying to emulate traditional techniques and like generally just like styles in terms of, it's gonna try and make it look like an oil brush was used, like a you see the brush strokes in the actual digital medium, where it's trying to imitate like life, but like in real life you get all that for free. The grain of the paper is going to interact with the paint that's on your brush to give you a specific look that you don't have to attempt to simulate with your artwork. Because like the way digital work used to look before is very like smooth and alien looking, it has no texture, right? And you just get that, but like, by working with pencil and paper, it has its own look. Ink and paper has its own look. And then like paints with a brush on paper, depending on the kind of paint you use, that has its own specific look that gives the work its own character.
Yeah. I mean, look, any art, digital, analog, or whatever, what it is it's a relationship between your imagination and your mind and an interface, an outward interface, right? So one side of that problem is the artist's imagination, their skill, to their biology, their reflexes, and so on and so on, right? And so because we live in nature and we touch these materials, and for a long time it was analog, some of those things are a given, right? Our responses to friction, the randomness, the grit of the paper, like what you're saying, gravity, you put something on it and you like watercolor, it'll drip down. Like those are things we take for granted. Digital's coming from another direction, and it's not that intuitive at first, right? Going back to Thanos, which was sculpted digitally, there was a time when digital sculpting was not as good as analog because the interface wasn't good, and also the mentality wasn't there. It was like, oh, I can do something perfectly smooth. That's so hard with clay, and so everything was smooth. And after a while, you're like, well, but we missed the texture, and now you have like fake texture. So, as digital gets better, it'll start to give the freedom back to the artist to just be natural, right? But then digital has its own advantages. For example, if you're doing a digital painting, a screen is RGB. No matter what you do in oil painting, you can't make light come out of it. Light bounces off, but it doesn't come out of it. Whereas digital art, light comes out of it. So if you do something with like a color dodge, I mean, it's gonna look luminous in a way that no painting analog ever can, right? And same thing with ZBrush. Like you can do a pattern that's completely even, wrap around using I don't know what they call it, alpha something, but like you can't sculpt that, right? Like I mean, you can try until you die, but like but on ZBrush you can make a chain, like Spawn. You can wrap around all the chains and they'll all be even lengths and they'll be perfect. It's sculpting. You can't sculpt that. Instead, you'd have to like buy a chain and stick it on your sculpt and you can ding it up, like all that. So both mediums have their advantages. The really, really good artists find a way to get their imagination out, and that's called skill. Analog, digital, they'll do it. So with the best guys, it almost doesn't matter. Or, the best digital artists, in my view, their stuff does not look analog. It looks like I've embraced the digital and I'm doing a whole new amazing thing. You can't do this oil paint, you can't do it, And so to me, those are the people like have embraced the medium, have embraced their imagination, and their skill and reflexes are tuned to maximize their media that they're using. So, I wouldn't necessarily discriminate at this point, but as the digital interface gets better, there won't be a difference. Once you can put your VR on and have tactile gloves, like
I wouldn't even say I'm discriminating because like I'm like a digital artist. It's just that I think when I look at the top artists in the industry, most of them they're trying to emulate like a more traditional style more often than not with the way they approach textures. If you look at a lot of the concept art for Into the Spider-Verse, for instance, that's like a great movie. Like they're not going with how smooth you can make things look like in digital with like the blends, making them look ultra creamy and whatever. They look like they're cutting out shapes with scissors on paper and sticking them like a bunch of random stuff. They're trying to emulate the Ben-Day dots that were they were a side effect, or they were a product of the fact that the printing process happened a certain way when they were making comics like back in the day, right? And all these artists, when they find like when you see some of the like coolest stuff that we're doing in digital art right now, it almost always seems like a callback to like what are the actual limitations of the traditional media that give those things their character and make them look a certain way, and they try to bring that into their work in the digital realm, and that character that the physical medium has because of its limitations, they pull that in and they like pull it into their work, and it's what gives and they might put a twist on it, because they're able to use that in digital right? But still, that they bring that in, and it gives it a new look, a new character that you might not have seen in a while. And that's why I use the example of the Into the Spider-Verse film, because like that was very. I don't think I'd ever seen anything like that before that movie,
Yeah.
right?
I would say a few things about that. Number one, no traditional art ever had that density, ever had that speed, ever had that luminosity. What they did, I mean, I agree with you, by the way, but I would add to that by saying using those elements that came from traditional art was paying homage to that traditional art. It was a callback to your memory. You would recognize it if you know what print is, and that has an emotional quality to it, you know. And so when you look at a piece like Thanos over there, like yeah, it's Marvel, it's this, it's that, but like go look at the best of Michelangelo and Rodin, and there's an echo there of the this kind of ideal masculine frame, right? There's many sculptures of like a muscular guy seated in different ways or reclined or whatever, and that thing. So that method of art is called Hellenistic art. If you go back to looking at the Greek sculptures like Venus de Milo or the Winged Victory of Samothrace, the Nike.
I think the one that's most is the Venus de Milo, or like the lady with
Yeah.
the arms cut off and it's just like a naked torso. I've forgotten the name, but I'm supposed to know because
there's Venus de Milo, which is the woman
painting,
kind of like
she's
the
coming
pose.
out of the shell.
Oh, that's Botticelli's. Also, I think of Venus, the painting. I think that's Botticelli. I'm talking about the sculptures.
Okay.
But the Winged Victory, if you look up that sculpture or Nike of Samothrace is the way it's pronounced, but she's got wings almost like an angel. Those sculptors were the height of the Greek Hellenistic style, and that went away until the Renaissance people revived it. If you look at the sculptures from say Michelangelo to Bernini, right? They were doing Hellenistic, those really like there's realistic and beautiful, and then there's like dialed up even further. That was the Hellenistic style. And so that stuff went away for a long time. And I believe in pieces like Thanos and other such, it's like you're reviving that Hellenistic style, which is like there's a naturalism and realism to it, but then there's an idealized too, right? The Venus, the Milo is I mean, today we think of it as a naturalistic woman because she's actually curvy versus like the bony stuff that's always, But in that time, not only was that a naturalistic, but that was an ideal woman, right? Idealized. And so when you look at the body and the curves and where the masses are, like I'm sure there's people who are roughly like that, but in their time that was like,
Yeah.
And so, take the figure aside, look at the fabric. And it's like it's always all these wrinkles in the right place. What it looks like is not just wrinkle fabric, but if you go in the water and you come out, the way that the fabric is heavy and has this weight, that's how they were sculpted fabric.
Yeah.
Right. And so you'll notice on I think it's one of the La Pieta that Michelangelo did. So we can get it too. You'll notice that all the drapery has this weight, like there's a tug on the and so it's naturalistic, but naturalistic plus.
I believe the way they even used to do the fabrics, they would literally take like a real cloth and then they'll like put some kind of starchy material on it, like so they can have that as the actual reference.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I however they did it, I believe it. And what you could say is, yes, the Renaissance people were imitating, but I actually think what's happening there is it's a language. I think Enter the Spider-Verse tapped into a piece of a language that came from the necessities of print at the time, and then it tapped a little bit of graffiti in this language, right? And put it together in a way that no traditional media can do. There's like, you can't cut that clean with scissors. And even if you did, you couldn't collage that many things that fast and switch them out. Like there was something kinetic to like the animation.
Yeah, no,
Um,
and then I'll even say even on the animation part of people like they limited the frames, so you get
Yeah.
like a limited stuttering animation, which we just don't need to do that in 3D. 3D you could just interpolate everything, and you get like in betweens that are perfectly smooth. But the
have you
intention
seen season 1 of Love, Death, Robots on Netflix?
yet to watch it, but I hear good things.
Watch it. There's a piece called The Witness, and it's about this woman that witnesses something through her window, and then this whole
Yeah,
story happens and it turns around. Okay.
Black hair.
The what?
Did she
Yeah,
have runny makeup? So
black hair. Yeah, that
Alberto
piece.
Mielgo, the artist that
Alberto
did that,
Mielgo. Yeah.
he was involved with
So
Into the Spider-Verse.
he was originally the guy behind it, and I don't know if he left the project or they kicked him out, but they kept his essence, his style, his technique, and they kind of dialed it up. But yeah, he was, that's where that came from. Now he's an artist that does a lot of traditional media, a lot of digital media, and like he's a director, but he's always painting, always. But what I'm saying is, as an artist, the history of the medium is a tool, right? At the end of the day, like, you know, I mean, Michael mentioned this, is one of the best things about this is the community, right? The people. And so you make this thing for the people. But how do you get to the people? Part of what makes us people is our memory.
Yeah.
Right. If I you know, like I worked on the Masters of the Universe stuff, I worked on Thundercat stuff, but when I start, I always look at the original cartoon and I want it to feel like that. And you might not realize what's making you feel like that, but I'm gonna find the shape and the thing. So if you look at it, like, you know, I worked on Shira, I designed that. And if you look at Shira, you're gonna be like, yeah, I remember her. And then look at the cartoon, well, she looks nothing like that. Now, why does that evoke that, right? And that's the thing about the memory. And so all the zipatone dots and all that stuff in Into Spider-Verse, I think it's much more of think of it like somebody playing the piano, and they're doing I don't know what it's called when you mix everything together, but they give you like a little bit of Bach, you know, oh, I know that piece, you know, and they keep going, right? Or a little bit of, you know, they're like playing whatever, and also you hear dun 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 dun. Oh, that's Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
And so the ability to just kind of like tease the memory, which connects to all your emotional associations of that memory. And I think what Enter the Spider-Verse did brilliantly is that comics will always be like the original comics, and nostalgia is tied to the printing. Old school printing with those dots and the little register where you see like the red, yellow, green, and black, and, you know, trying to line up the dots, and, you know, where the dots, you know, if the printer slipped and the dots were misaligned, you'd see the blue and the red and the yellow. And that was a mistake. But if you've seen that before and you see it on film, you're like, I know what that is. Even if you don't consciously realize, like, you feel it. And it feels like a comic book.
Really quick, I wanted to give a shout out to JP for stopping by. Like, here's his Instagram. I'm checking it out right now, and like, I wanted to show it off, but you guys were in the middle of a conversation. But yeah, JP Mavinga on Instagram. Freaking, he only has 430 posts. You know, he needs to up those numbers up. You know, I'm just kidding.
All right, I'll post more.
You guys were talking about David Igo for a little bit. So like, I go to a lot of Comic Cons. I don't know if you guys, like, I got to meet him for a little bit, right? So he drew my book, and I don't know if you guys saw this earlier, but like, he was drawing Venom for me. He was like, I asked him to draw whatever he wanted, but he put a happy
favorite
smile.
Character.
He drew a happy smile in the middle, and I was like, wow. I thought that was creative or like really funny. Like, I love that type of stuff. But another shout out to you. Like, I also like, congrats to Cash for acquiring the Thanos on Throne. But like, I've had this thing for a little bit too, and like, I've collected, like, everyone knows me as the extra swap out guy, and like, I'm still building this thing. But yeah, the work keeps living on with like more like this, I think. But
I've never seen these.
Oh really? Oh yeah. So yeah, I'm missing a couple, but yeah, I have my little collection.
Wow. I'm missing this head.
Yeah, you saw that. But yeah, man. Big shout out to you, man. I really appreciate you and for stopping by with and
Absolutely,
some
thank
time.
you. Dave
Yeah.
Igo is why I ended up at Sideshow. He's a really good guy. He was my boss in the time that I was there. He's a extraordinary artist, but really his talent is really organizing and bringing people together. He's as an art director, and when the situation allows it, he's really able to bring out the best in the group of talents, and that's not an unusual ability. He's somebody that I've worked with many times outside of Sideshow, and I hope to do so. Again. Also. If I had my own operation, I'd hire him as one of my guys, to get things done.
I definitely love how he communicates. It's with humor, but he gets the point across with it. It's like I love that.
Yeah, he's crazy. When we were at the office, a joke was made, but it was kind of true. Like he was like Captain Kirk, a little wild, little baby, and I was like Spock, the foreign guy who brought the reason.
Heck yeah, that's nice, man. I'm gonna go ahead and put a pin in it and take it backstage. I just want to say thanks to JP for coming on. Like
thanks,
I said, I had to get
good to meet all of you.
Yeah,
had to get your Mr. Freeze, had to get the Thanos. Tone, any last words, man?
No, just congrats, man.
Thanks.
Finally got it.
Finally
got it.
Time
coming.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
I don't have one, by the way. I just want to say he's ahead of me in life.
Hey, we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna get you a Thanos on throne, man. If anyone deserves one, you deserve a Thanos on throne.
Thanks,
Buck,
man.
Any last words, Buck?
Thanks for having me, Cash. Thanks to JP for giving us his time, and thanks to Steve and Tone for being here as well.
Oh man, Steve, sorry. Any last words?
No, man. Big congrats to you. I know, like when you saw it was like love at first sight. So it was cool to see that you followed up with it and you married that piece or whatever you want to say. But shout out to Tone and shout out to Farti for stopping by. And JP. I don't know.
Hey, shout out Nigeria, baby.
Wait, who's from Nigeria? Oh, fellow African, Congo.
That's what's
born there.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's in West Africa too. So
I lived in Ivory Coast for 7 years. Côte d'Ivoire. And I've been to Lagos. I got family there.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
We'll talk about that backstage.
Yeah, we're gonna be backstage. JP, any last words before I read something?
Go for it.
So this is on the JP Mavinga book here. Just to share this again right here on this one, it does say to Cash, the legend, the homie. So I appreciate this, but I'm just gonna read this on the back here. It says, art is a lonely venture. It will require the mastery of solitude and an acceptance of failure and pain. Finding one's voice is a heartbreaking journey. There is so much to say in a language that artists may never fully master. True support is unlikely. I was once told that I was just wasting electricity. The work that I did that night changed the course of my life. If you're an artist or someone working hard towards something, I'll tell you this, it's hard, it hurts. Don't stop. With that being said, thank you guys. Sideshow Collectibles Thanos on Throne. Shout out to the BBC. Shout out to the CMP Nation. JP Mavinga. We're going backstage, and as always, put some cash in your life, baby.
Put some cash in your life. Put some cash in your life. If your cash ain't right, if your cash ain't right, put some cash in your life. Put some cash in your life. 'Cause what's a